Level 1. The Self-Taught Kid. You're 13, sitting in your bedroom, typing your first line of code on a 5-year-old laptop your parents bought for $200. You have no degree, no mentor, and no idea where this is going. But 15 years from now, this same kid could be sitting at a closing table on a $340 million deal. The tutorial is free. Free code camp on one tab, a Python docs page on the other, and a text editor you don't know how to configure yet. You type the same 8 lines 100 times until the syntax stops feeling foreign. Your first real program is a number-guessing game that crashes every time someone types a letter instead of a digit, and you spend 3 nights just figuring out what a try-except block is for. You build a to-do list app nobody uses but you. You break your parents' home Wi-Fi router twice trying to run a local server. You discover Stack Overflow and copy an answer without understanding it, and the code works, and that bothers you more than if it had failed, so you go back and read every line until you do understand it. You open a GitHub account and your contribution graph is a single green square for months. Then you find a small open-source project with a label that says Good First Issue, and you fix a typo in a README file, and a stranger on the internet merges your pull request and says, "Thanks." That's the whole trade in miniature: a broken thing, a fix, a stranger who checks your work. You stop asking your parents for video games and start asking for a mechanical keyboard. The high school guidance counselor has never heard of a computer science AP class filling up this fast. You're not getting paid, but you stopped checking the clock. Level 2. The Intern. You're 20 and the internship pays $47 an hour at a mid-sized tech company, which comes out to roughly $8,500 for a 10-week summer if you do the math on the drive home. Your laptop is a company-issued MacBook with more RAM than the one you learned on. Your manager assigns you a starter ticket, fix a flaky test, and it takes you 4 days to find the race condition that's actually causing it. You sit in your first coder view and watch a senior engineer leave 9 comments on a 12-line pull request, and none of them are mean, and all of them are right. You learn what a linter is by fighting one for an afternoon. You learn what git blame is by using it on a bug and discovering you wrote it 3 weeks ago. You ship one real feature before the internship ends, a small settings toggle nobody outside the company will ever notice, and you stare at the pull request after it merges to production like it's a diploma. The return offer letter comes in September. Base salary, $128,000. A signing bonus, and a level designation you don't fully understand yet, something like SWE2 or L4 depending on which company hired you. The Bureau of Labor Statistics puts the 10th percentile for the whole profession at $79,850 a year. You are already well above it before you've worked a single full-time day. You accept. Level 3 is where the training wheels come off and the pager starts ringing. Level 3, the mid-level engineer. You're 24, 2 years in, and you own a real piece of the system now, not a ticket, a service. Your badge gets you into the on-call rotation, and the first time the pager goes off at 2 a.m., your hands are shaking before you've even opened the laptop. The dashboard shows error rates climbing on a payment service you deployed a change to 6 hours earlier. You roll it back, watch the graph flatten, and don't fall back asleep until 5. In the post-mortem the next day, nobody yells at you. They ask what would have caught it sooner, and you write a new alert threshold into the runbook yourself. You start reading pull requests from other people the way the senior engineer once read yours, quietly, thoroughly, catching the thing they missed. Promotion from this level to senior typically runs 2 to 4 years, and the company doesn't hand it to you. You have to build a packet, a document listing the systems you've owned, the outages you've prevented, the people you've mentored. You write it at your kitchen table on a Sunday night the same way the lawn care owner 2 industries over wrote his HOA bid, nervous, thorough, checking the numbers twice. The promotion committee meets without you in the room. 3 weeks later, your manager tells you it went through. Level 4 is where the ceiling most engineers never cross starts to come into view. Level 4, the senior engineer. You're 28, and at a large tech company, this level alone can carry a total compensation package north of $400,000 a year, base salary, an annual bonus, and a stock grant that vests over 4 years and refreshes every cycle if you perform. You stop shipping code as the main job. You start shipping decisions. A new feature needs a design doc before a single file gets touched, and you're the one who has to write it, weighing 3 different architectures against each other in a Google Doc that a dozen engineers will comment on before anyone approves it. You mentor 2 junior engineers now, and you catch yourself repeating the exact sentence your own mentor said to you at level 2. You lead the technical side of a migration that touches 11 services and takes 4 months, and it ships with 0 downtime, and almost nobody outside your team ever knows it happened, which is exactly the point. Then the email arrives on a Wednesday morning that has nothing to do with your performance. The company is cutting 10% of engineering. Across the industry, more than 260,000 tech workers lost their jobs in 2023 alone, and another 150,000 followed in 2024. And the layoffs didn't spare seniority, they spared budget lines. Your name isn't on the list this time. The engineer 2 desks over, 5 years in with a flawless review history, is gone by lunch. You stay 2 extra hours that night, not because anyone asked you to, but because the ground under this level suddenly feels less solid than the title implied. Level 5, the staff engineer. You're 33, and the title on the door barely explains the job anymore. At the largest tech companies, this level, staff or principal, can carry total compensation from roughly $587,000 into the 7 figures, depending on scope. And fewer than 5% of engineers at those companies ever reach it. You don't own one service anymore. You own a problem that spans a dozen teams. A director asks you to figure out why 3 different groups are quietly building the same internal tool 3 different ways. And your job for the next 2 quarters is to walk into rooms you weren't invited to and ask questions nobody wants to answer honestly. You write an RFC, a request for comments, proposing a single shared platform. And the first draft gets torn apart by an engineer with more tenure than you who thinks you're wrong. You're not sure you aren't. You rewrite it twice. The 3rd version ships, and 18 months later, 4 teams are running on the thing you argued into existence in a document. Nobody throws you a party for it. The reward is quieter. A bigger scope next quarter, a seat in a room where headcount gets decided. You stop measuring your week in commits and start measuring it in meetings that didn't need to happen, and the 2 that did. Level 6 is the level almost nobody reaches, because the company only needs a handful of people standing at it. Level 6, the distinguished engineer. You're 41, and there might be fewer than 50 people at your entire company who hold this title. At the top of the public compensation data for this track, total packages have been reported north of $1.9 million a year, mostly in stock that assumes the company keeps growing the way it has for a decade. Google's engineering ladder tops out at Distinguished Engineer and then Fellow, a rank that exists for the handful of people whose technical judgment shapes strategy across the entire company. The kind of career Google's own Jeff Dean and Sanjay Gemawad built by co-authoring the papers on MapReduce and Bigtable that a large share of the modern internet's infrastructure still traces back to. You're not them, but you're standing in the same rare air. Executives call you directly when a decision is too technical for the org chart to route correctly. You stop interviewing for jobs. Companies interview you for whether they can afford you. The engineer who once left 9 comments on your 12-line pull request retired 2 years ago, and at his going-away party, he told you, half joking, that you'd already passed him. You left it off in the room and thought about it the whole drive home. Level 7 isn't higher on this ladder, it's a different ladder entirely, one you build yourself. Level 7, the founder. You're 35, not 41, because this path branches off earlier, back around level 4 or 5, the moment you stopped waiting for the company's ladder and started building your own. You and a former teammate rent a 2-bedroom apartment, turn the 2nd bedroom into an office, and spend 14 months building the product you spent your last 2 jobs wishing someone else would build. You take a Y Combinator check for a small slice of the company and move to a cheaper city to make the money last. The first version breaks constantly. You are the on-call engineer, the customer support line, and the person who writes the pitch deck, sometimes in the same afternoon. A 60-hour week feels light. 2 years in, growth finally compounds the way you modeled it would on a spreadsheet at 1 a.m. A larger company reaches out not to compete with you, to acquire you. The same way Facebook once paid roughly $1 billion for a 13-person photo-sharing app, and the way countless smaller, quieter acquisitions happen every year for teams nobody outside the industry ever hears about. Your lawyer reads the term sheet line by line in a conference room that smells like fresh carpet. The number is $340 million, most of it in cash, a slice in stock, a 2-year retention agreement that keeps you in the building you're about to sell. You sign on a Thursday, the wire clears on a Friday. You don't throw a party. You drive home and sit in your car in the driveway for 11 minutes before you go inside. Here's the part nobody tells the kid typing his first line of code at 13. The trade doesn't gate on a degree, though most people still get one. It gates on whether you keep fixing the broken thing after the tutorial stops holding your hand. The laptop your parents bought for $200 is in a closet at your parents' house right now. Dead battery, cracked hinge, still bootable if you charge it. You could open it tonight and it would still run the same 8 lines you typed at 13. Somewhere, right now, a kid the same age is staring at a red error message that makes no sense to them yet, ready to close the laptop and go outside instead. Most of them will. The ones who don't are the ones standing at level 6 in a boardroom, or level 7 at a closing table 15 years from tonight. You never fully explain to your parents what a race condition is. They still ask you to fix the printer.